We are so thrilled to be partnering with Hinge. Hinge is the dating app designed to be deleted. As you all know, I'm a huge Hinge advocate as I met my partner of almost 3 years on the app. Even before meeting him, Hinge was always my go-to app because I met more relationship-minded people here and had some great dates. Clearly, I haven't been on the app for a little while, but I re-downloaded it to check out some of the new features. One that stood out to me was the voice prompt, my best friend's take on why you should date me, where your friend can hype you up. Not only does this make the profile creation less daunting, but it's not always easy to see your own green flags. So to test it out, I asked Yue some fun prompts to get her take on what I could put if I was dating again. So the first one, how long have we known each other? What was your first impression of me and how has that changed?
Julie and I have known each other for almost 10 years. My first impression of Julie was that she's very social, but I've learned that she has a lot more depth to her beyond the social butterfly that she is.
My next prompt, what do you think are my green flags?
I would say she's deeply loyal. She believes in love, curious mindset, and she is fearlessly ambitious.
And then last but not least, what kind of friend am I?
Julie is the kind of friend who will always have your back, no matter what.
Damn, that feels nice to hear. So download Hinge and try voice prompts today. Then find someone worth deleting the app for. I was so excited to get my shipment from Last Bottle Wines in the mail the other day, full of incredible red wines, all from Napa Valley. I love wine tasting, so having this to my door couldn't be happier. Also, couldn't be more excited that today's episode is brought to you by Last Bottle Wines. If you don't know already, they're a Napa-based online wine shop with a twist. They offer just one handpicked wine per day until it sells out, and they're always at incredible prices. We're talking 30 to 70% off retail. And the best part is that there's no subscriptions, no fees, and no minimum purchase. And I could not be more excited to bring this offer right now because they're having a marathon sale, which is coming up March 28th and 29th. Even better, we're offering Dateable listeners 10% off your first order with code DATEABLE. So if you are a wine lover like me, this is a great time to join. And did I mention that shipping is 100% free? So what are you waiting for? Mark your calendar for March 28th and 29th or get on it earlier if you want. You can sign up at lastbottlewines.com and use code DATEABLE and find out why Last Bottle is the most fun way to discover and buy amazing wine.
The Dateable podcast is an insider's look into modern dating that the Huffington Post calls one of the top 10 podcasts about love and sex. On each episode, we'll talk to real daters about everything from sex parties to sex droughts, date fails to diaper fetishes, and first moves to first loves. I'm your host, Yue Xu, former dating coach turned dating sociologist. You'll also hear from my co-host and producer, Julie Krafchick, as we explore this crazy dateable world. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dateable, a show all about modern dating. What is dating without a journey involved? We all have to go through a journey. We have to go through all these different milestones in our love lives to get to where we are today. And who is a better person? Like, I think of her as a dating Sherpa than Marni Battista, who's on the line with us right now. She lives in LA, originally from the Midwest. She's in her fabulous 50s. She's currently married, and she helps smart, successful women overcome hurdles and blocks to living their best life and finding a high quality man. Amen. She has a master's in education as a certified life coach, also a master practitioner at administering an energy assessment called the D Factor that helps clients pinpoint exactly why they are or are not dateable.
How appropriate for us.
Very appropriate for us. And what types of messages they are unconsciously broadcasting to others based on their thoughts, feelings, actions, and attitudes. It's like almost like your dating aura putting out there.
Yeah. Yes.
It's fabulous. And on top of that, Marni's also trained as a facilitator and mentor trainer by the Hoffman Institute, who has been quoted in numerous research studies. I'm sure you've all heard of Hoffman Institute, a world-renowned leader in personal development. In addition, Marni is the on-camera dating and relationship coach on the new hit reality TV show Control TV.
And also you have a podcast, is that correct?
I do.
Yeah.
I totally do.
I'm so excited to have Marni here because I will say when her people reached out to our people.
That sounds so pretentious, but yes.
Shared
we sound
mailing
so
list.
big time right now.
/ not really. But anyways, I was super excited because I actually had my own experience with Marni. I found her kind of amidst this like dating like black hole I was in, like down in the dumps a bit. It was during that period where like I just kept going on date after date. I was also in a really toxic friends with benefits. Like I don't want to be in a relationship, but somehow I thought there was still hope. So I lost my dignity pretty much.
The dark ages.
The dark ages. And I remember somehow stumbling across Marni, and I was like really like intrigued by it because there was so much like bad dating stuff out there. The why men like bitches or like marry bitches or something. It was like terrible books that were just like game playing. And I like this approach of like getting down to like what is the core of what the challenge is and like not just blaming whatever external forces are out there. So you were definitely ahead of your time here because I remember getting like a USB in the mail and listening in private because it was like not this kind of out of the open thing to listen to dating podcasts like it is now. And I remember it hit me at like a really good point in my life. And this is why I'm sharing this, is that I was like in the state of dating fatigue. I started to think there was something wrong with me. And I think like by like listening to your program and like listening to you, I was able to really address like what was holding me back, why my personality might be coming off different with dates than it was like with friends, for example, and why I was like maybe playing these games that were actually getting in my own way and I wasn't being authentic, and actually took a break, really focused on like even your workbooks back in the day.
Oh, yay!
And then I actually met someone that ended up being like a very significant partner for me. So like I was super excited to have you, which is a very long story
I'm
short.
happy to be here.
Marni, aren't you so proud of your student here? She is such a good student.
I love it. And what's really cool is I will get an email like that, or somebody sent me a picture in an email just the other day. They've been together 8 years. One of the first people I coached, and her husband went back to where they had their first date, and she sent me a picture. And so I love hearing people's lives unfolding in a way that was beyond what they could have imagined because they kind of took the pause to do the work and then learn how to date, you know, with dignity, which is possible. There's totally great guys out there. Yeah, so it's super fulfilling. Thank you for sharing that.
So Marni, back in the time when you started your business and you said, I want to be a dating coach, I mean, what was really out there was pickup community was huge, and also the I'm the victim community. It was how to stop being a victim, how to be that girl to, you know, be stronger and not be taken advantage of. But you came at it with a different angle of dating with dignity. How did you come upon this?
Well, you know, they say what you teach, what you need to learn. And so in my intro, you talked about the Hoffman Institute. So I had just come off doing like some pretty deep work because I had been divorced after 17 years and then got in a really bad relationship right away. And I was like, oh crap, you know, here I am like repeating patterns. And when I did that work for myself and started my own journey, one of the things that I realized that I had lost in the journey of love and intimacy was dignity, right? Self-respect, self-love.
Yep.
And so I had made this, and it's actually an exercise. I have all my clients do it still to this day, is this mandala exercise. And I had these words that really captured, you know, my I am or my authenticity, and I had dignity. And so when I decided to really look at what then was the core that changed my own dating journey, it was dignity. You know, it was like a game changer. And then when we decided to start this transformational company around relationships, I mean, it was just dating with dignity. Like if we have dignity, then we have self-respect and self-love. And if you have that, then everything is different.
So take us back to that relationship. Like, where were you when you didn't have dignity, and like, how did you get out of that?
How did you find your dignity?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's so funny because I haven't talked about it in so long, which is weird because you'd think people would ask me that all the time. But I was married, and, you know, I just felt like in that relationship, like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? I got to fix this. I got to fix me. And we ended up, you know, getting a divorce, which was really challenging. And at the time, I sort of figured the best way to get over someone is to get, you know, as they say, under someone else. So I met another guy, and this guy was like the same version of my ex-husband in a lot of ways. He was just better looking.
Just in a different body. Yeah.
Yeah, younger, whatever. But in the end, it was just like, I did a podcast with Jordan Harbinger once, and he titled it like, I was a psycho ex-girlfriend. And that's basically how I was, you know. I was like driving around, like in between when my kids were at school, like driving by his house, seeing if he was with somebody else, bringing him coffee, trying to seduce him. When we were dating, I was basically like his maid and his babysitter, like taking care of his kids and moving his house. And I didn't do that stuff in my own house. I mean, and I just was, constantly getting treated like he gave me what I call crumb, and I just kept putting up with it, until I hit bottom. He broke up with me. I was wanting to get him back. And I just realized like, at the end, I'm the common denominator in all my failed relationships. And for me, my 3 daughters were like my why, because I was like, if I don't figure this out, at least for myself, like all I'm going to do is just teach this to my girls. They were really young. It was 10 years ago plus. And so I just made that be my why. And that's when I kind of started on my own journey. And when I figured it out and I realized, hey, this is a, repeatable process. And we started teaching it to other people. That was fulfilling.
But the word dignity has so much weight to it, but I don't think people really know what it means. They know it's a good word,
right?
But what does it entail? And you touch upon something that I can definitely relate to is you did things for this man that you wouldn't even do for yourself.
Right.
And
bend over backwards.
Exactly. And that's when you've lost dignity, is that you wouldn't even treat yourself this well.
How would you describe dignity?
I think I would just describe dignity as knowing who you are and knowing your values and standing by who your true self is and not getting lost in a relationship. And also not counting on someone to complete who you are because you already complete yourself. But Marni, how would you describe what dignity is?
Well, I keep it real simple with clients and people who are kind of trying to do it. I'm like, you wake up in the morning and you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
Whether you slept with him, you didn't sleep with him, he called you, he didn't call you, you had a great date, you had a shitty date, like whatever, right? Like if you wake up the next day and you're like, wow, I showed up in the best version of myself. I have no shame, regret, remorse. I'm not replaying events in my mind. I'm not trying to control, I feel good about myself. That like I had dignity, I have no regret.
Yeah.
That to me is like a real simple way to see if you're dating with dignity.
I just thought of this incredible business idea where you have an alarm clock and instead of it beeping in the morning, it would just go, how do you feel about yourself?
Yeah, exactly.
Dignity, no dignity.
Do you love yourself?
So what is the ultimate dating with dignity philosophy?
That's funny. I mean, if I was going to quote RuPaul, I think she says, if you can't love yourself, how are you going to get someone to love you? Like, amen, kind of a thing. I think that our core philosophy is you have to really take responsibility for the part that you play in all of your failed relationships, not just be aware of it, but actually heal it. And then get really clear on who you are, who you're looking for, be discerning, not picky, and then use a strategy to date in an efficient way. If you do that, I mean, that's really the process and it works.
This process is almost counterintuitive, kind of like what you said, Julie, when you took Marni's courses, you actually stopped dating.
Right.
When most courses would say, you keep dating, you just change this up a little bit, try this next time.
That's like quick fix.
Quick fix, yeah, the Band-Aid fix. But Marni, your philosophy is like, it comes from within. So if that means taking a break from dating, you've got to do that work from inside out. So what is some of that work that people can do while they're not dating?
Well, I think, and I don't know if Julie remembers this, but one of the key pieces in our process is what we call the dating fast, which basically means that you do take an intentional break and you clear up the man clutter. Often people will say, well, they'll be like, dating fast. I don't need to do that. I haven't gone on a date in 10 years. And I just talked to someone today who told me that story. And I was like, so you've gone on no dates? She was like, well, I mean, I'm not going on dates, but I'm like hooking up. Right. Right. And there's guys that are kind of like, whatever. So it's about clearing all the clutter, number one. And in the space when women that I work with clear that inbox clutter, the chatter stops, and also stuff bubbles up. Like you realize like, oh God, I need attention, or I'm having a lot of feelings come up and I want to eat.
Right.
Or I want to drink extra wine. Or one of the most important pieces about the dating fast is to actually see what's going on, that the frenetic behavior and obsession and negativity around dating is basically masking. So that's the first piece.
Yeah, I do remember this whole thing, and I actually found my workbook quite
You did?
some time
Did you
ago.
bring it?
No, I wish I did, but I had found it, and I was like, wow, I actually did do so much of this work. And I think for me, I do remember you had this exercise too of what are these limiting beliefs that you have? What are the things that you're telling yourself, and are these actually true? Taking a step back and being is this actually a reality, or is this kind of some self-serving thought that I've been saying to myself? Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, yeah. And I'll just use the example of this person that I spoke to today. She was just telling me her story, and she was like high quality men in our culture aren't attracted to or won't date women with curves.
Wow.
Yep.
Limiting belief.
She was like, I mean, if I'm wrong, let me know. And I was like, well, you believe it to be true, so it doesn't matter. She also said alpha men, high quality men, aren't attracted to women who are needy. And basically what that meant was anyone who has needs. In her world, she had this story about some attractive quality guy who only wants to date a woman who is needless.
Wow.
Yep. That's definitely
Right?
been out there, I feel in bad dating books for a very long time.
And also, you're
Totally.
kind of where does this come from?
And
Right.
that her needs, I mean, really honestly aren't as important as she really believes that at her core, that always put other people first.
Yep.
So those are three. That's just in one 40-minute phone call. And what is interesting is when you start to really ask yourself, what do I really believe?
Right.
If I'm honest with myself, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm not rich enough, I'm too rich, I'm too intimidating. I hear a lot of I'm too much. There's no, and this is basic, there are no quality men near me. Online dating sucks. I'm too old. Literally step one, do a written vomit of what you believe are the rules about dating and relationship right now. What are the truths that you have? And I said to this woman, and so I'll just say it too, because I think it's a really interesting thing. So write that all down, and then imagine that the Dateable ladies and Marni, round up, the last 50 quality men on the planet, and we plop them
challenge
right
for
down
us?
in front of you. If you believe, I don't look good enough, I'm too needy, and are you really going to be able to actually be in a long-term relationship with that person?
Right.
No.
Right.
Yeah. So, you kind of went through some of the top things that people are saying. Is there anything else that you feel are just holding women back in general?
Hey, let's pause from this episode for our sponsor, Lola, a female-founded feminine care brand offering high-quality period and sexual wellness products, all made with natural ingredients. Lola's tampons, pads, liners, and cleansing wipes are all made with 100% organic cotton. No toxins, dyes, or synthetic fibers. I personally love that Lola makes it easier than ever to tailor my subscription to perfectly fit my needs. I can choose from an assortment of Lola's gynecologist-approved period products that are hypoallergenic, and I have the freedom to select my delivery frequency, such as choosing between, let's say, every 4 weeks to every 8 weeks. It's also super easy to modify my order, skip a month, or cancel my subscription at any time. Get started with a trial set. You have 2 kinds to choose from, with each one featuring a mixed assortment of period products for just $5. And just for being a Dateable listener, you can get 30% off your $5 trial set today. Visit mylola.com and enter the code DATEABLE 30 to redeem your offer. Again, that's 30% off a $5 trial set with the code DATEABLE30 by visiting mylola.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
Is there anything else that you feel are just holding women back in general?
Well, this is a huge thing. To me, the actual, the dating process, the strategy is honestly the easiest part. It's data, it's algorithms, it's all, that part is easy. There is a strategy, there is a formula. That said, if you don't do the internal work, which we've been talking about, it won't work.
Well, I do remember when I was going on tons of dates and my best friend being do you really want a relationship? I'm yeah, I totally do. And then she's do you really want a relationship?
Do you?
Because like your behavior, because I was still like kind of having this like hookup, friends with benefits situation that clearly the guy was like, I don't want to be in a relationship, and I was still pursuing it. And she was like, if you really wanted to be in a relationship, your actions would not be doing that. So it did like kind of like bring to light of like, what am I actually doing right this minute? And what am I saying I want? And how do those not align? And then like pairing that with like what beliefs were there was like really how I was able to break through it.
Yeah, because you had to face yourself and ask yourself these really deep questions.
With Marni's workbook.
With Marni's with my workbook.
And her USB. So.
Exactly. And I think, look, it's so easy to blame.
People are always like, oh, my city.
It just is. And I love this statement. And I think it comes from Bob Hoffman, actually, who's the founder of the Hoffman process. But it's something like everyone is guilty and no one is to blame, right? Meaning we all take responsibility for our results. And so it's nobody's fault.
Whenever Julie and I go to any sort of dating event or singles event, it becomes a bitch fest. And it's always pointing fingers. Oh, men are doing this, women are doing this. But nobody's taking responsibility for their own actions for being an asshole sometimes. And so I think what I love about this concept is that you got to look at yourself first and see what you're putting out there before you blame other people. Now, as part of this process of doing this inner work, where does the D factor assessment come in? I'm guessing the D doesn't stand for dick. So
dateable, right?
That's so funny. That's so funny. It's your dateability factor.
I actually took the D factor.
Ooh.
I don't remember.
Did?
I did. I was like a great customer back in the day.
She's a great student.
Wow, you really were.
She's A+.
Yeah. So, well, shit, you tell us.
I actually don't remember what my results were, though, to be completely honest. So I'm going to turn that back to you.
So basically what it does is it's like, are you dateable to the men you want or the men that you get? Because if you are living in the vibration and your beliefs are, I'm not enough, I'm not wanted, why does everything happen to me? Or, it's his loss, or screw men, or, I need to protect myself and my guard is up. You are going to attract men that will fill that need, that dysfunctional puzzle piece. You will attract men who validate those beliefs, right? So like that woman who had all those beliefs, she's totally attracting men who are super, super needy because she doesn't feel good about herself, right? So of course she's going to attract men who need her because she thinks her only value is over functioning, caretaking, sleeping with somebody, right? So the D factor, which we only do now with our private clients, so we don't even sell that anymore. But it measures really what are your unconscious beliefs that are leaking. Yeah. Right? It's what you can't see on the tip of your nose.
Let's hold that thought for a second. We'll get right back to it.
As you know, I recently left my corporate job and I've been in total recovery mode, all about self-care. One of my new routines is the nighttime shower before bed. There's just something about washing away the day and that reflection that's been super helpful for me. I've been using one of our partners, Osea's Mega Moisture Duo. This combo body oil and body lotion are so freaking incredible. It literally feels like I'm at a spa. I realized that the secret is seaweed and other skin level ingredients that are normally reserved for face products. And that's why I was so excited when Osea became one of our partners. And, we're so grateful for partners like this because one, they keep the show going, but they're also super good for all of our listeners and for our own well-being. So if you want to have that nighttime bliss like I am doing, you can get 10% off your first order site-wide with code DATEABLE at oseamalibu.com. You'll get free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $60. So head to oseamalibu.com and use the code DATEABLE for 10% off. Let us know which products you end up going with. Share them in social. Super excited to see what you end up choosing.
This episode is made possible by Badlands Pets. As you all know, Mojo, my precious baby, is the reason why I found love in the first place. He made me feel love again. So I would do anything to ensure his health and longevity. And actress Katherine Heigl and I have that in common. She's helped save over 16,000 dogs through her foundation. And after doing a ton of research, she feels there's one place we can look to improve any dog's health, and that's their food. So fortunately, she found that just by adding a few special superfoods to her dog's food, she saw huge transformations in their health. So she's made a 20-minute video explaining step-by-step how anyone can do the same thing to see incredible changes in their dog's health. I've definitely re-looked at what I'm feeding Mojo and making sure that, hey, he only has one life to live, and I want to make sure it's the best damn life. So if you want to keep your dog healthy and happy, go to badlandsfood.com/dateable and watch Catherine's video right now. Again, that's badlandsfood.com/dateable. Living with ADHD can be a challenge, and dating with ADHD is definitely a challenge. We've heard many of you say, but finding the right care and proper tools needed to succeed can be life-changing. Done is an online ADHD care platform that can get you all the resources you need to help manage your ADHD. Online visits, refills, and a 24/7 care team made for you. In just 1 minute, Done's online assessment can help kickstart your ADHD treatment journey. With experienced clinicians, worry-fill refills, and online visits, you can start getting personalized care as soon as today or tomorrow. So contact an expert team that can help you around the clock and get a personalized treatment plan just for you. Here's how you do it. Take a free 1-minute assessment and book an appointment with a licensed ADHD clinician as soon as the next day. Get continuous care, one-click refills, insurance coverage, and 24/7 care team support with Done for just $79 a month, and pharmacy copays as low as $0. Visit get.donefirst.com/podcast to learn more. That's get.donefirst.com/podcast to learn more. Done. Turn ADHD into your strength.
Yeah, I think that's the part that's so interesting about this, because like you are the common denominator for sure, and I totally believe that 100%. But I guess like where is that line of like you just haven't met the right person yet, or like there is only so much that you can like fix about yourself, like you don't want to change? Like what do you think is kind of like the best way to approach like self-improvement but not going overboard, that you're never perfect, right?
Well, nobody's ever perfect. So the thing is, if you're going on dates and you're going on a date a week or so, and you feel like you're attracting really great guys and you're having fun and you're collecting data, and of course they're not your match. And when it's not a match, you just tell them. You're honest, you're communicating, you're being direct, you're, easily filling the funnel until it's just a numbers game, and it should be super fun. Like I love it when my clients are like, oh my God, I'm dating 3 guys and I need to pick like who's the best guy for me, and they're all really great. I love that. Because here's the thing, you're never gonna be done being reflective. There's no perfect, right? So, and by the way, when you get in that relationship, you're gonna learn a whole bunch more stuff about yourself and your partner. So just first of all, get rid of the whole mindset like that you're broken or whatever, and be like, hey, I'm on a journey to be the best version of me that I can be, and dating is an awesome mirror. I get to see all my stuff.
That is for sure.
Right? And like, so, am I moving forward toward my vision? If you are, awesome. And if you're not, then get help. That's it. There's no shame.
Because ultimately, dating should be fun. Of all the shit we do on a day-to-day basis, dating should be the highlight of your day.
Stress,
it shouldn't be like, oh, dating sucks. We should use it as a great way for personal development, but also to meet new people. It's fantastic.
So what would you say to people that feel like they're just attracting the wrong types of men? I remember you had this thing called the manimals.
I love the manimals.
Which I love.
That's so great.
I know our listeners are going to ask, manimals, let's break them down really quickly. Let's take a break here because I have a question for you. What are you eating for your next meal? Do you sometimes find it difficult to cook healthy and easy meals that are actually delicious? Now eating healthy can be a lot simpler with Sunbasket, which delivers organic, pre-measured ingredients and quick, healthy recipes right to your door. I was immediately drawn to Sunbasket because it was founded in San Francisco with recipes by Justine Kelly, an award-winning Bay Area chef from one of my favorite restaurants, Slanted Door. You can mix and match the recipes across the full menu, regardless of your meal plan. I recently made the Mediterranean garlic shrimp with Spanish rice. Yummy! Get your hands on hand-selected seasonal ingredients, organic produce, responsibly raised meats free from antibiotics and added hormones, sustainably sourced seafood, and healthy, delicious 30-minute recipes now, because Sunbasket is offering $35 off your order when you go right to sunbasket.com/dateable and enter the code DATEABLE at checkout. That's sunbasket.com/dateable and enter the code DATEABLE for $35 off your order. $35 off your order. Sunbasket.com/dateable and enter the code DATEABLE. Now, back to this episode. I know our listeners are going to ask, manimals, let's break them down really quickly.
The manimals, so there's the player, which now, I guess people call him like a fuckboy. So that's him, right? Just like totally like in it to win it, just wants to get with as many women as he can, like not looking for anything serious, going for low-hanging fruit. The crybaby is one to beware of, because if you're into personal development, they're kind of everywhere. So he's like, it's me, not you. You know, let me tell you about my mother and my childhood. So he's like
oh my
a
God, I've been
fixer
with some of
upper,
those,
and a lot of your listeners and mine like are very attracted to this guy because they can, you know, they feel like they can fix. Then there's quality casual, and that one is like a really great quality guy, but he's probably emotionally available, or he's not in the right time of his life where he's looking for a relationship. So he'll treat you well, he'll ask you out on dates, but you didn't know that he was going to Paris for 2 weeks until you saw it on Facebook or Instagram.
Oh, shady.
So it's just like, it's just not a real relationship, but it's like good on paper, and like he's doing the steps, but just not.
You want to believe that it's a relationship when it's really not.
Totally. Like, you know, he's like, yeah,
We've been in those
let's get together
before.
after I go do my league soccer and I've got this conference call, and, you know, but I'd love to go out with you on Saturday night, you know, and he takes you out on a really nice date and he's fun, and maybe you're sleeping together, but it just doesn't progress.
Right.
The crummer. That's a breadcrumber right there.
That's like the toughest one.
Totally.
You want to believe there's the potential.
Oh, I think I've dated all of them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Totally. And then there's another one, and he's the guy who, like, the kind of the unicorn, where he's trying to get you to believe that like some other version of relationship that's not yours is okay, right? Like, like we don't need to commit. We're just in the
labels,
and
no
like,
big deal.
Why do we need to make plans in advance? Because that's like, be spontaneous, be in your soul, right? So
in your soul.
Oh my God.
Feel the aura.
The manimals. That has stuck with me all these years. I always remember that phrase. So
I would love to hear some womanimals someday. I'm sure there's a few of those too.
That's so great. Well, I think if you're attracting, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I would just say, look for patterns. It's like in that conversation with this woman, I'm just trying to see patterns, right? I'm just asking her like 2 to 3 minute synopsis. Tell me what's not working exactly for you right now, you know, and just start by asking yourself that question. What's not working? Oh, you know, when I ask people that, they're like, oh, well, I always meet men who are fixer-uppers, or I always get 2 to 3 dates, can't get past the next thing, right? Like, get clear on what it is that's not working, and then look at whether you listen to a podcast, or you work with me or somebody else, or you go to therapy, whatever it is, right? Just be like, wow, what's a pattern? All you have to do is get intentional about changing it, just like you do when you want to get more healthy or you want to get a new career. I had a woman come on the phone with me who was a banker who had become a lawyer. And she asked me, so how long is this going to take?
Wow.
And I was like, so I'm just playing a game with you. Are you willing to play? She was like, yeah. I'm like, so you were a banker. That's a pretty, you know, good career. When you decided to become a lawyer, did you be like, well, I'm only going to do it if it takes less than 17 hours?
Right.
I mean, most people, when they have a passion or a purpose or something that is like dear to their soul, they're like, what do I need to do to fulfill on this? Whether it's saving up to travel or, right? You don't go like, I'm only doing it if it's easy and convenient. And so if dating is something you only want to do if it's easy and convenient, or being in a relationship is only something you want if it's easy and convenient, you probably actually don't. It's not a plan for you.
Right.
Even if you find your dream guy, it's not going to be easy. And freaking being an awesome partner sometimes is really inconvenient.
Yeah.
You know, the pattern we see, and I'm guessing you see this too, Marni, is that people feel entitled to love when they're successful in their own careers. For some reason, you hear this from people all the time who would say, I'm at a great place in my career. I worked hard for my career. Now I deserve that love. And
and not willing to put the work in.
No, if you invested all that time in your career, you should do the same for your
Why would
love
this
life.
just be so easy?
Why are you entitled to it automatically?
Also, when people are like, I don't have time to date, it's like, well, do you have time to be in a relationship then when you actually meet that person? Because like that does require time too.
It's all just magical thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And those are all just excuses. Like your friend, really asked you a hard question. You're really honest, like it's easy to say I want a relationship. It's easy to be on the phone with me. It's easy to download podcasts. It's easy to highlight shit, write it down, say affirmation.
You could say all the F words you want. Say fucking
affirmations.
Exactly. So, but the thing is, it's like, you know what? I have so much empathy because I so was this person, but it's like, if you focus instead of on getting the guy, if you focus, am I being my most bestest self?
Yeah.
Like, do I have dignity? Do I have self-worth?
How did your dating life turn around then? Like, what is kind of your own journey of where you are now?
Fucking affirmations.
Yeah. No, so I started working on repairing my self-worth and my dignity. And I realized that I was like a valuable, wanted, desirable woman. And I became confident. And then my actions supported that belief. So I started having boundaries and having great communication and articulating my need and taking responsibility. And I started dating, and I went on lots of dates with frogs, and I could tell you hilarious stories about my dating experiences. But even when the guy showed me like 30 minutes of his cat videos on his phone, 10 minutes into it, I was like, okay, so this guy isn't my guy, but oh my God, what a fascinating dude. And I was like, let's go. When did you become how did you teach your cat this? Did you teach your cat?
He's probably like best date ever.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to marry her.
How often do you video? Like, do you edit them together? I was just like, wow,
curious.
This is like a crazy experience, and I'm just going to go for it. So I started having fun dating. And then I was doing my life, and I was dating online, and I was meeting, people offline, and I ended up meeting my husband at a personal development related event. And,
how perfect.
I just practice what I preach. But I dated really with dignity and with intention for, 5 years.
So you put in the work.
Learning about myself through the process. And then about 3 or 4 months before I met my husband, Jeremy, I was dating like way better quality guys, but the manimals, they were like very quality casual. Like they were way better than the players and the crybabies and the fixer-uppers, but they weren't really looking for a serious relationship. And one of them sent me a message on Facebook. We were chatting. We'd gone on dates very casually. If I slept over at his house, I left. I never wanted to wake up with this guy. I didn't want to go to the fucking farmer's market with him on Sunday. And he basically said I was one of the most emotionally unavailable women he'd ever dated.
Wow.
Really?
It was like a boxing match. And I was like, ding, 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 round whatever. And I was like, all right, you know what? God, he noticed I am. And I had to kind of go back and do the next level excavation.
Wow.
And that was like in February or March. And I met my husband at the end of April.
So it's just a continuation of work all the time. Like
never stops.
Yeah. That's a good segue to takeaways.
I have 2 major takeaways. One is I love your gut check of the next morning. Yes. How do I feel about myself? And I like that question because it's not judgmental. It's like, do you still like yourself? That's judgmental, but this is open. Like, how do I feel about myself right now? And I think that's a good gut check every morning, regardless of whether you're going through inner work for dating or just for life in general. I also always on this idea of limiting beliefs, and every day I do another gut check of, is this something I really believe in, or is this a limiting belief? And so many times we get stuck on, I'm here, this is what I believe, this is why I'm not dating the way I should be dating or finding the right partner. And then making that leap to believing the opposite is really, really hard. Right. It's really hard for someone to say, I believe that there are no good men out there, to all of a sudden flip their perspective and say, there are plenty of good men out there.
Yeah, I would say, ask yourself, what is it going to take for me to be open to believing something else?
Absolutely. So that's a great transition, or at least it's a progression of saying, I'm open to believing the opposite of what my limiting belief is right now. I've
also found it really helpful to make lists. This is back to the workbook, but I think it doesn't even have to be men that you've dated, or maybe it is a man you've dated that was a good person. It just didn't work out, right? Or maybe it's your friend's significant others, or your brother, or your male friend. It can be other men men, like if you can just point to areas that are kind of evidence that your limiting belief isn't true, right? Or like, oh, I never meet guys. And it's like, oh, actually, I do meet a lot of men. It's just whatever reason isn't the right fit. But it's not that I don't meet men in the first place, right?
It's out of context.
Right. So I think it's like really easy to make these like blanket statements. And I think like really drilling into these limiting beliefs help you really identify more where there is actually that gap and what is just more like that imagination of your own that's telling you something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other thing, it's just like, I love this word dignity. Like, I think it's just like what you said earlier. It's like, I'm doing things for someone that I wouldn't even do for myself. And I'm not saying again, like you shouldn't kind of extend yourself for a significant other. But if you feel like you're doing stuff that is not like how you would want to be treated, or ways that like things that you would do that like you're not seeing anything in return and you're just like feeling like a doormat, then it's time to stop and like really think about like, this is not serving me. I'm not feeling like I have dignity in the situation, and like, how do you change that? And I love, like, again, like not to beat a dead horse, but it all does come within. Like, I know we've talked so much on the show about people like going to therapy or dating coaching or whatever like it may be. I think just like blaming the external factors just like is never going to get to the core of like what is really going on.
No, because you got to dig from within.
Right.
Dignity. And the official definition of dignity is the state or quality of being worthy of honor or respect, a sense of pride in oneself, self-respect.
Yeah. And I think
Love it.
Love it.
the other last takeaway I have is like, I love this. Just get clear on what you want. Like sometimes when your actions and your words are very different, it means that one of them isn't aligning. So like, again, digging deep to like understand what it is. And like, if you don't have time for a relationship and you are focused on work, or you want to just like hook up and play around, then that's okay. Like that's kind of like where you are in the moment. So I think like having that kind of own compassion for yourself. And like, I know for myself, when I've done like kind of these limiting beliefs, I remember one of them was like, oh, I haven't had a relationship in years. Like something's wrong with me, or like I'm not attracting men that want to have a relationship with me. And then I started to really think like, actually, when I was like 25, I was new to a city. I was not in the mindset for a relationship. So that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not capable of a relationship. It's just where I was at that moment.
Yeah, it's timing.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. And all the underlying theme in all of those is curiosity rather than judgment.
I love that.
Curiosity about yourself and other people. That's what makes dating fun. It should be an experiment and never ending. Marni, what is a parting piece of advice you give to singles out there who are feeling a little bit stuck in their dating life?
I think one of the things that I bring it full circle, you know, my why was my 3 kids, my 3 daughters who are now like in their 20s and, you know, out there in the world. I always say like, I love the listeners. I love the women that are stuck. Like, you know, like I do it because I love you like my kids, right? Like to change women, to change our culture, to change the world, one person at a time. And so one of the things that I taught them when they're really little, which is sort of like the Battista family motto, is don't let your fear get in the way of your biggest dream, even if your biggest dream is actually your biggest fear.
Whoa.
Wow. That is so profound.
That's a mic drop.
Yeah.
Bam. So yeah, do that. Do that.
I remember, just to add on to this, one of your other catchphrases, because you have the best catchphrases. I don't know if anyone's told you that, but I think that's why they've stuck all these years. I remember you were like, you got to get out of your comfy condo. Comfy, cozy condo. I kind of butchered that. And I love that because it's like, okay, it's safe. It's easy. Like I'm at home. I'm comfortable. But sometimes like you have to get uncomfortable if it's really like something you want.
That's when you change. That's when you grow.
Well, totally. And that's why like, we all want like, you know, new paint in our condo and, you know, we want to, you know, get out of our like fat pants and, you know, whatever. But we're like, why bother? You know, like Netflix, you know, you can order in literally everything. But your dream is not in that condo. It is outside the cozy condo, right? It's in the future that you vision, your dream. It's in your heart. It's in your soul. You deserve to have that longing. And it's okay. I'm giving you permission to have that longing. Even in 2019, you don't need a man, but you want it to be fully expressed for who you are and have all those experiences. So yeah, get out of the damn condo.
As I look around my apartment right now and wearing my elastic waist pants, I will say thank you very much, Marni, for preaching. I think what you bring into the space of dating coaching and dating advice is the direction we should be going into, which is personal development and also authenticity and sticking true to who you are. But first of all, finding who you are first.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. It's really easy, like especially this day and age where there's just like so many distractions. It's easy to distract yourself for a really long time.
Yeah. So let those distractions bubble up.
And it's okay to be uncomfortable with your workbook and your scan drive.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm a little uncomfortable with the USB drive right now, so I might test that out for a little bit. Well, thank you again, Marni. So much gratitude for having you with us, and I'm so glad we made this work.
Thank you for allowing me to date with dignity. Because there was definitely some periods I didn't have dignity before that. So.
And for listeners at home, if you like to be a guest on Dateable, we're looking for guests for an upcoming season. So
your
reach out
own
to
story.
Us. Yeah.
How did you change your dating ways?
How did you find your own dignity?
Yeah.
Reach out
Or how
to
did you
us.
lose your dignity? We always love those rock bottoms. And then coming out of that rock bottom.
On the flip side of that. Cool. We're going to wrap this up.
Stay dateable.
Want to continue the conversation? First, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter with the handle @DateablePodcast. Tag us in any post with the hashtag StayDateable, and trust us, we look at all of those posts. Then head over to our website, dateablepodcast.com. There you'll find all the episodes as well as articles, videos, and our coaching service with vetted industry experts. You can also find our premium Why series where we dissect, analyze, and offer solutions to some of the most common dating conundrums. We're also downloadable for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Overcast, Stitcher Radio, and other podcast platforms. Your feedback is valuable to us, so don't forget to leave us a review. And most importantly, remember to stay dateable.